Hey girl. Hey guys, so we're doing a video today talking about the importance of alligators. Why do we keep them around? I've done a video similar to this in the past. We're gonna do it just because we get a lot of questions and comments. She's been on it today too, by the way, so she's been a little sketch. We get a lot of questions and comments from people who say things like, why do you protect these animals if they're dangerous? Why do we keep them around? If that thing can kill you, why don't you just kill it first? Why do you keep around dangerous animals? And so there's this big sentiment, like a lot of people have the opinion that if something is dangerous, we should wipe it out. You know, and I get a lot of comments that say things like this, you know, they should be extinct because they eat people and, you know, they kill people, so we should kill all of them to protect the people. And this sentiment like really bothers me, and I definitely want to try to address this in this video and kind of go over this whole idea of like, if something is dangerous or even inconvenient to humans, that somehow gives us the right to wipe an animal off the planet that has been around for, what is it, 240 million years? Or with sharks, over 400 million years. I go into this one a lot with the shark stuff too. If you follow me recently on here, you probably don't see a lot of my shark stuff. I used to do shark diving trips as one of my businesses, bring people out diving with sharks a lot. Sharks were a huge part of my life for many years when I lived down south, but since we came up here, I haven't got to see my sharks in a long time. But either way, I'm still a big shark advocate. I love shark diving. I've dove with over 20 different species of sharks, and they're another great example of people wanting to wipe out an animal because it is dangerous or just an inconvenience. And I've gotten quite a few arguments recently, more about sharks than even alligators, about you know, sharks stealing people's bait and that, you know, stealing their fish. And it's like, bro, you can go somewhere else and get food. The shark can't. That's where he lives. You know, just because it's an annoyance to you doesn't give you the right to wipe out an animal that, again, has been there. Sharks are older than trees. You know, I just wrap your head around. Sharks have been on Earth before Saturn had its rings. Like, wrap your head around that thought for a second. It's just incredible to think about. And humans as we know them today have only been around for, I think it's 300,000 years, you know? So for something that has been around for like the blink of an eye, and then we feel justified to wipe out animals that have been around for hundreds of millions of years because they are an inconvenience to us, I think it's just like, it is the most egocentric, narcissistic thought process, you know, and it like really bothers me that so many people think like this and don't have the view of other animals deserving to have a life, you know. And by the way, today I have some chicken here, and this chicken is well, it's a little gross. You can tell by the flies. There you go, girl. And so there's a lot of flies coming around for this gross chicken. Hi, can I help you? You got one, okay? You got to sit and be good. We'll give you the other one in a little bit, okay? But yeah, just I don't know. I was raised with the idea that you should try to respect all life, and as somebody who has an animal sanctuary, you know, it just really bothers me that people see it to be acceptable. Don't you try. See it to be acceptable to kill an animal, not only kill an animal, but try to wipe an animal out or a species out just because it is inconvenient or, of course, dangerous. Now, I don't want to come across like a crazy person. I'm not saying like if this animal was about to kill me, would I, and I didn't have another choice, would I kill it? Yes. If Gabby was about to be killed by something and there was nothing else I could do but kill that animal, save Gabby, I'm gonna save Gabby, obviously. You know, like, I'm not trying to be like a crazy person about it, but so many people do not understand that there are so many other options than just shooting things. You know, we can make alterations in our life to be smarter and to avoid conflict before it happens.
Well, we dealt with this a lot with like the nuisance alligators, where people move purposely to a house or like a community that is built around water. And then they're like, well, there's an alligator there, and I have a 3-year-old that plays by the water's edge. It's like, so you moved to where there's water, you're letting your kid play in the water, and now you want that animal removed? Like,
Not removed, to die.
well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's call it what it is. That animal has to die now because you think that you allowing your kid to play by the water's edge in an area that has native alligators. Like you get what I'm trying to say? It's like,
Well,
just don't have your kid by the water's edge, man. You know, we're not telling you to endanger your friends, your family, or your pets. Obviously, we don't want anybody getting hurt, but it's like the simple answer is just alter the behavior to avoid the conflict, not take it as a justification to kill the animal.
the thing that really pisses me off, and it's not just Florida, it's everywhere. When people move somewhere, like if you move somewhere with a ton of bears, if you move into Florida, we have alligators. We have a ton of
I was gonna
alligators.
get there.
Okay. Yeah, when you move there and you're like, I'm from New York, I'm terrified of them. Then why are you here? Like,
Yeah.
why didn't you do any research?
I was gonna get there because this is one, Gabby knows, this is one that makes me crazy. It's all the time with Joe Rogan. You know, every time we see a clip of Joe Rogan talking about animals, like I just want to bash my head against the wall. And like I like to listen to Rogan's podcast when he starts talking about aliens and stuff. Like I love listening to those ones, you know, and I love like the whole topic of aliens. So I'm not a hater. Like I'm really not. I do enjoy listening to it whenever he talks about aliens and stuff. But every time he talks about animals, I just want to reach through the phone and, you know, it just makes me crazy because he's always like, oh yeah, man, we go out there, you better carry a gun. We're gonna have to shoot the bear. We're gonna have to shoot the wolves. We're gonna have to kill them. Then don't go there if you are not smart enough to conduct yourself in a way that will avoid conflict. Now, I'm not saying not to have yourself armed in case, like, again, if a situation happens where, like, you have to defend yourself, but try to avoid the situations where you would have to. One of my favorite things to reference on this is in the movie Avatar. You know, Gabby's smiling. She
Always.
showed me. I say this all the time because it's a great example. So in the first Avatar movie, when Jake Sully is first, you know, in the Na'vi form and he gets attacked by, like, the wolf things, and they're gonna kill him, and then Neytiri has to save him and ends up killing several of the wolf animals to save him. And then he's like, oh, thank you so much, and then she smacks him and he's like, this is your fault. They didn't have to die. I only had to kill them because you were so stupid, you were so dumb like a little child to put yourself in a situation where you're going to be killed by these things, and the only way to get you to survive is to kill those animals. So she was mad at him. And that's the exact same thought process I have. It's like, if you let your kid play by the water's edge and then they get attacked by an alligator, it's not the alligator's fault. It's your fault as the adult. Obviously, we can't blame the kid. They don't know any better, but the adult should know better, and the animal shouldn't have to die because the adult is stupid.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the thought process that makes me mad. And so, like, if you move to an area that is in the country and has predatory animals wild, and you, especially if you want to live in the country, this is the Joe Rogan one. It's like, if you're gonna go hunt elk in an area that has bears, then conduct yourself in a way to avoid the conflict with the bears. Not go out there and get ready to just shoot any bear you see, because I had to, man.
Well, it's like spear fishermen that don't know what they're doing, and then they go spear the fish, and then the shark comes, and they're like,
Yeah.
it's like,
and they're like, oh no, I had to shoot the shark. It was coming after me. Why was it coming after you? Because you didn't know what you were doing. You didn't stone the fish when you shot it. You know, like there's so many examples of
for
this.
people that aren't familiar with that, can you just give them some tips on like how to prevent shark conflicts when you're spear fishing?
My late friend Mike, you know, he passed away. He was a really, really dear friend of mine, and I used to always go out shark diving with him all the time. And he was a pro diver, pro free diver, pro spear fisherman. He was so good at all this stuff. And I watched him multiple times take cobia, which is a desirable fish for spear fishermen, take him right off the back of bull sharks. And we would have like 20 bull sharks in the water, and he could nail it right off the back because he had that skill set. He had the skill to be able to do that. And what I mean by that is his aim was so good and direct, he'd do what they call it stoning it, where you just hit it right through the head, instantly dead. And there's no struggle. Now, the sharks key in on the struggle, not the blood, by the way. Everybody's like, oh, they go in a frenzy over the blood. They don't. We'd sit there and tear apart fish in a cloud of blood, and the blood attracts sharks, of course, but it doesn't make them frenzy. What makes them go crazy and frenzy is struggling fish. So when someone who is an amateur and doesn't know what they're doing, and then they shoot, I got a frog.
Oh man, WikiFeet's gonna love this one.
Oh God, no, don't. Come on, get out of there. But yeah, so when somebody doesn't know what they're doing, shoots the fish mid-body, it doesn't instantly kill the fish, and then it's struggling like crazy, and then those sharks come rushing in to get the struggling fish because you're capturing what they would naturally eat anyways, and then they come after the guy because he's trying to reel the fish up to them, and then the sharks are competing with you for the fish. It becomes chaos, and that's how people get hurt, and that's how they get bit. But again, when I was with Mike, I watched him do this multiple times, never had a problem. You know, because he's at that skill caliber where he can do that. And if you're not at that skill caliber, then don't do that. You know, practice in a more shallow, safe area where you can, you know, hunt fish and not have to worry about that sort of thing, work on your aim and whatnot, you know. But what I'm saying is, like, be smart enough to not put yourself in a situation where it becomes life and death between you and a predator because you didn't know how to avoid it. And, yeah.
I feel like too, because people are crazy and they're going to focus, oh, well, sometimes panthers or mountain lions pull kids off the bikes, and sometimes this and sometimes that. Like, yeah, sometimes there are freak things. Sometimes there are like
risks.
Like rogue animals.
Well, yeah, there are legitimate risks, and you should be prepared to defend yourself.
But most of the time, like 99% of the time, that's just not it. I feel like people are looking for a problem. Like if your kid or dog gets attacked in Florida, I would say 99.999% of the time that's on you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Again,
if you get attacked by an alligator, look at these things.
Well,
they're not a hyper predator.
Let's
dude.
say you're, you know,
it's a friggin'.
You're
it's
just
a
walking
log.
and there's a fed gator and whatever, and for some reason it comes at like something very unexpected, which is also why you don't feed alligators. But like, I feel like for the most part that is on the parent.
So it definitely depends on what kind of animal we're talking about here and what activities you're doing. So we are all over the map on talking about different scenarios, and they are not equal, okay? If you go hiking in bear country, carry bear spray or carry a powerful firearm. I'm not saying not to do that. You should be able to defend yourself, but also be smart enough to avoid the conflict to begin with. Don't go, you know, like try to avoid going out in an area where you know bears are hunting a lot in the stream for salmon, you know, or, you know, they have, you know, what am I trying to say? Where people walk around and they're always, you know, hey bear, you know, and like they're trying to let bears know like, hey, I'm out here, so you don't startle one accidentally, so you don't sneak up on them, announcing your presence, you know, that sort of thing, so you can avoid that conflict.
Not leaving food out if you're
not
picnicking.
Leaving food. Yep, exactly. Those kind of things, you know. But the point that we're trying to make is that a lot of this conflict can be avoided on the human end if you just have a little bit of education on how to avoid conflict. And so with the alligators, you know, that's what we always talk about all the time. Don't swim in their habitat, don't have kids and pets near the water's edge, don't feed them. Those are the things that can really help you avoid that conflict with an alligator. But these guys, you know, they're not like an aggressive animal, obviously. They're not like running you down and coming after you kind of thing. Different predatory animals will require a different education on how to avoid that conflict. But it's just the idea that you can avoid that conflict most of the time. But like Gabby was saying, a lot of people do go out hoping for conflict. They want the excuse to have to kill the animal. It's like a very macho kind of thing, you know? It's like, oh man, I want to have the chance to be able to shoot the bear and fight it, you know? It's like, don't do that, man. Like, don't be an a-hole. Like, leave the bear alone. You know, he doesn't know that you've got some chip on your shoulder and some machismo thing. He's just out there trying to survive, man. You know, and the same with the alligators and whatnot. So we just try to avoid that kind of thing. But we are also on two different thought processes here. So like, absolutely, it was really important to get around this message of avoiding the conflict to begin with. But then also the other thought process I really wanted to discuss in this video is the idea that these animals have a right to live just like you do. You know, and that just because an animal is a nuisance or potentially life-threatening, it doesn't give us the right as humans to wipe them off the planet. Now, if you have to defend yourself in that instance against that specific animal and there was no other choice, again, we have no problem with that. You know, you have to defend yourself. But what we also see is a lot of retribution, a lot of revenge stuff. You know, we're like a gator, like the Disney one. You know, and at Disney, that kid got nailed. Very sad situation. We've done a whole video discussing this if you want to go back and reference that. But the kid died. Very sad, very, very tragic. Definitely should not have had a kid waiting in the water at night in a lake in Florida, though. But then they killed, what was the number?
All of them.
It was like 200 and something alligators, wasn't it? It was
I don't know. I know they killed
I don't want to misquote it. It was some like ridiculously high number of alligators that got killed in that area as a consequence of that kid getting
because
grabbed.
A visitor who didn't even live in Florida came and like didn't do their research. Like I don't know. Like I feel like if you're visiting Florida, like I think it's like kind of common sense. Like, there's a lot of alligators here. They're in water. Do
right,
not
right.
let your kid play in water.
That's the thought process. If it was an avoidable thing, absolutely. You know, like we just talked about all that stuff of it being avoidable. But what I'm getting at is the idea of killing off all those alligators in the entire area because something bad happened because one person did something they shouldn't have done. And as humans, like, I take the viewpoint that humans are supposed to be the stewards of nature. We are the smartest animal, you know, supposedly. We are the smartest animal on the planet, and we are the animal that can make these choices, you know, to either exterminate another animal or have conservation efforts and preserve them, you know. And so I really want to kind of harp on that idea that, like, why would you kill all the alligators in that area because of one thing happening like that? Why do people feel the need to go out, if they go out in the country, every rattlesnake they see, they shoot? And people think they're doing a good thing. They're like, oh, I kill every rattlesnake I see. I always kill them because what if it got somebody? It's like, but you're going out where they're supposed to be. Like, you know, like, we should not have this thought process of having a right to kill animals in their natural habitat where they're supposed to be just because the possibility of there being danger.
I don't know how people aren't embarrassed to be so ignorant. Like, I get secondhand embarrassment for them. Like, how are you okay with being ignorant? Why don't you want to learn? Why don't you?
How are you okay with being a coward? That's what I think. That's what I think about it, because it shows, like, a lot of guys see that as a macho thing. Like, yeah, oh yeah, I kill every snake I see, and they think it's a tough guy thing. I'm like, no, it means you're a coward. You're afraid. You don't have skills. You don't have abilities. You don't have the skill set or the knowledge to avoid the conflict. So you're going to do the only thing you can do, which is be dumb and just shoot it. You know, and like, I see that as cowardice. You know, I just really bothers me. And we're not talking about a snake on your back doorstep with your baby sitting right there. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about all the time.
Which I still think you could just get a broom and sweep it away.
Yes, you can.
Like,
Absolutely,
they're again.
you can. But it's the thought process of thinking you are entitled to destroy any and every animal that you encounter that could possibly be a threat.
Well, I want to go back to, like, the actual scientific answer, just in case people are like, this is all your opinion, whatever. Why don't we get rid of all the animals because they're dangerous? People do not understand ecosystems.
Yep.
Like, basic biology, and, you know, like...
Well, that's what I wanted to get back to too. Like I said in the beginning, the importance of these animals. Why shouldn't you have that attitude? Why shouldn't you think that way? To me, not only ethics and morality, you should not see yourself as above anything. Oh, but we are. We're the top of the food chain. We're above everything. You are right now. That might change. Keep in mind. Like I said earlier, I love the UFO
Planet
stuff.
of the Apes, you guys.
Well, no, seriously. I love the UFO stuff. I really do. Now, I'm not like crazy. Like, I don't think there's like aliens hiding behind the tree over here. But I absolutely think there is extraterrestrial life somewhere out there in the universe. And I really hope they don't treat us the way that we treat animals. That's what I think about all the time.
Imagine them keeping humans in like 4x4 cages on wire because they want to wear our skin and make coats out
Like
of
the
our
foxes?
skin. Yeah.
Just like our foxes, you know, that's how they were kept.
Or like they just chop your feet off because they think human
it would
legs.
look cool. I want to make a back scratcher out of its hand.
Yeah. Or I mean, like how they eat alligator tail, like they just like eating people's like legs or something.
Oh, that's a fun one. I did an interview earlier today. Oh, it's justified because we eat them. Really? Really? So like if an alien came and they took your family member and they killed him, but they ate it, it's not a waste. You're cool with that, right? Like,
you were very patient in that interview because I was sitting on the couch listening, rolling my eyes, and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know. Why do people interview you if they're like?
Because they were saying, well, it was talking about
So
alligators,
ignorant.
and then you know that the one person was like, oh, but what does it matter if they kill the nuisance gators if they eat them? It's okay. I mean, they eat them. It's not wasted. And I'm like, well, you know, again, like I always think about the alien thing. I'm like, okay, so if an alien comes and abducts your family member and eats them, you're cool, right? It wasn't a waste. They ate them, and they're higher up in the food chain than you. So why are you mad? It's like, because we should have that moral standing as the higher entity, that we should not abuse things that are lower than us just because we can. And by having such standard, I would hope that then anything higher than us might view us in the same light, or at least have respect for us, because we have the ability to make such judgments I really hope that something above us would have a little bit of respect for us and be like, oh, okay, these things aren't a-holes that wantonly kill everything and then make some cruel justification for murdering animals that can't defend themselves.
Like veal. Like if they
Yeah,
just took
don't
your
even get me
if they
going.
just took your infant child away and like kept it in a cage, it tastes better that way. When the child can't grow and its bones are misformed and its meat is tender, it tastes way better that way. So we
Yeah.
justify it because we eat it. So that's okay to torture animals if we're eating it.
And so, again, we have that mindset because we're the top of the food chain right now, as far as we know, you know? And I always come back to that, and I'm like, man, we are not the only thing out there. And, like, I really...
Which we aren't. And it's so ignorant to think that, like we are the only things out there when there are so many solar systems that we don't even know about. Like,
it's insanity to think about it, you know? So,
like
like
that we are the only thing.
That's what I think about. You know, I think about it all the time, and I'm like, don't feel justified to abuse lower life forms because you are a lower life form to something else out there, I guarantee you. And I really hope that day never comes, you know? But when it does, man, it ain't gonna be pretty. You know, the way that we treat other animals, like, it is just really sad. But anyways, that's a fun conversation, a fun thought experiment I often do like to think about. But we should not abuse other animals just because we can, and just because we are currently the top of the food chain, we should not feel entitled to wipe out animals just because they may pose a threat at some time. We should be smart enough to be able to organize ourselves and our society to be able to coexist with animals without having to kill them off because they might be a threat at some point. You know, like that's really the kind of thing I see in the comments a lot is a lot of people have this mindset, why would you help this animal if it could hurt somebody? Why would you keep them around if they could hurt you? Or another one people say a lot, why do you keep them around if they don't love you back? I say that all the time. You know, I love them, they don't love me. I'm very adamant about that. And a lot of people get kind of weird and offended. You know, they're like, well, then why would you keep it if it doesn't return love to you? What's the point? And I'm like, the point is, I'm not selfish. I don't help an animal just because I think it's going to like me later. I help an animal because helping is the right thing to do.
What is that called in the animal kingdom? Like altruism? When an animal helps another animal without...
Altruistic relationship?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, without expecting anything back.
So, yeah. And just...
It exists in the animal kingdom.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
But just the idea that, like, we're not helping them to get something out of it. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. You know
You're
what I
not
mean?
in it for the fame and the money?
Yeah, that's why I do half-hour-long videos discussing this thing when like 5 people are gonna actually watch this whole video. Like, if you guys look at my insights on my social media, it's like literally first 30 seconds, audience retention, tanks. Like, it's like less than 0.01% of people actually watch the entirety of these videos. So I do these for the people who actually care about this and like actually are interested in this kind of stuff and want to actually learn and have these cool thought experiments, you know? Like, I love this kind of stuff, and a very small percentage of people also do. You know, so thank you for those who stay with us on it, you know? But yeah, that thought process really bothers me, you know, of people just thinking it's justified to wantonly kill animals because they might be a threat, because it might cause danger, you know, that kind of stuff. And like, I see a really high rise in it because of Joe Rogan and the way that he talks about animals, especially predatory animals like gators. He says all the time, I hate gators, they're monsters. He says, I purposefully buy gator leather whenever I see it because it means one of those got killed, you know, just so I could have this, you know, and just like this, and he's the most influential person in the world right now. And again, I'm not trying to be a hater. If you enjoy his stuff, I enjoy his UFO stuff, you know, like I love watching those ones. But like, I'm not trying to hate on him, but I definitely want to push back on that mindset, that attitude of wanting to kill predatory animals. And for me too, another thing, I love having predatory animals in the world. And there is that element, obviously, of danger involved in it, but there's also, to me, the element of something, I don't want to say something greater than you, you know, because, I mean, there's no mistake, you know, we are the top of the food chain on this planet right now, you know, we're the most intelligent creature in the world right now, but having something that checks that ego, I love that. This animal does not care if you are the president or a homeless person. You taste the same. And I love that about them and other predatory animals. You know, like I really do. And I really respect that. And I love to live in a world that has that. I don't want to live in a perfect, harmless world where there is no danger. I don't want that. If you want that, please go live in the city. Do not move out to the country.
Then you have to worry about the people instead of the animals.
Well, yes, you do, you know, but I'm just saying, as far as the animal stuff goes, a lot of people move out to the country and then they're like, oh yeah, man, I live out in the country. I'm an outdoorsman. I'm a woodsman. I'm a tough guy, man. I live out in the country. We got cougars and this and that. And every time I see them, I shoot them because I'm afraid. And in fact, I want to turn the country into the city by executing everything that makes the country the country. That's the mindset I'm trying to fight. You know, that like really makes me crazy. It's just like, if you're afraid of all these things and you think that we should wipe out the things that make the country, then get out of the country, bro. Go back to the city. Go back to your city limits where you don't have to worry about cougars or gators or bears. If those kind of things bother you, then get out of here. You shouldn't be in their area then.
There should be like a quiz, like before you move into, you know, the city, like anywhere. I don't know, you should have to like register with the county and answer like 10 basic questions. Like read a little pamphlet and then answer some questions.
I wish, trust me. But that, you know, again, that mindset, like I really want to fight that mindset of like, yeah, I'm gonna go out in the middle of nowhere where there's predatory animals and then be so afraid of them that I want to kill them all to make the place safe. Just, if you want to be safe, go back in the city. You know, I like to live in a place that has that element of danger and requires an element of skill to be able to survive. Oh yeah, Chris, what are you gonna say when you get killed because of it? That's how it works, man. Hey, it is what it is then.
You know what's more dangerous than alligators in Florida?
People.
Mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah.
And ticks.
Florida man.
Insects. Like they carry all kinds of diseases and stuff. I don't know.
What?
We don't really have. Is she gonna yawn?
She's gonna yawn.
Oh, big yawn.
Oh man, I can see like straight down her throat. Oh, I can still see that piece of chicken in there.
Gross.
I could see it. It's all the way back there. It's in there. But yeah, I personally like to live in that world that has, you know, these amazing animals left in it. And then, like Abby was saying earlier, just, you know, so what purpose do they serve? All apex predators are incredibly important in the ecosystem as a top-down predator that helps regulate all the populations of animals below them by eating them. And then also just their sheer presence influences prey behavior, even if they're not necessarily causing that much of a population decrease on prey animals. Just their presence alone will alter prey behavior and how they exploit their environment. It's really cool stuff. Like when you look at how when wolves were introduced back into Yellowstone after being wiped out, how the wolf population then affected all the ungulates and how they would utilize the habitat, and they would not be out in the open as much because they know they're available for wolves to nail them if they're out in the open, so they don't go out in the open that much. And then those prairie areas could grow vegetation that hasn't been able to grow in decades because of a lack of predators. It's really cool.
It's kind of like it's literally what you learn in elementary school, that like the sharks and the big animals,
the food web.
They eat the sick animals and the dying animals, and that's what it is. And yeah, they eat healthy animals too, but like they are very...
It's an integral part. It's an incredibly, one of the most important parts of any ecosystem are the apex predators.
Do you know how many people call in alligators as nuisances because they eat invasive Muscovy ducks? Do you know how many times it was aggressive? It was eating a duck
that it's supposed to eat.
A duck that's not even supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the croc with the pelican, that one to this day makes me so angry. At Dry Tortugas National Park, which is national park. It's supposed to be a protected area where wildlife can be wildlife. And there was a crocodile that was living there that ate a pelican in front of people, and so they relocated the croc because it was so aggressive. It ate a pelican. It's like, that's what they do, and he's in the one spot where he's supposed to be protected. It was just so backwards of them to move that croc out of that spot because it ate a pelican, and that upset people. What are you talking about? This is not Disney. That's real life. That's really what they do. It didn't mess with any person. Leave it alone. They relocated it, and I am 99% sure that croc died because it was at such a unique spot at Dry Tortugas. It got there by probably blown in by a storm. It's such a weird chance that it got there because it's so far out in the middle of nowhere. It got there and it was surviving there for years, doing well, and then he relocated it into the Everglades, but that was his home range spot now, so he probably tried to return to that home range spot, and that's a huge area for it to go through, and it probably died trying to get back to that spot. So it is such a failure on what is supposed to be a conservation, ecologically minded organization that they did that. It really, really upsets me that they did that to that poor croc. But anyways, I think we covered most of the things I was thinking about, like just about respecting animals, realizing they have their place in nature, that they are integral to the environment. If you want a healthy ecosystem, you need to have predatory animals. You do not have the right to just wipe out animals because they are an inconvenience. We need to be stewards of the planet and not just kill things because we just want to. Of course, that's been, what humans have done since they could, but I really hope that this tries to influence some people to have a different mindset on that subject and to try to respect wildlife and not just want to kill things, and also have a respectful outlook when you go into especially wild areas, to go in there with knowledge about how you should handle yourself so you don't end up in conflict with the animals that are supposed to be there because you are the visitor in that area, right? That kind of encapsulates that pretty well, I think, right? Any other thoughts you have, Gab? No? Well, let us know in the comments what you think, guys. Leave some comments, let us know, and thank you.